Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, the one and only Silver the Hedgehog here, and happy Valentine's Day, everybody. And welcome to you all for our next series of Let's Plays we're going to be deciding to tackle through. Because after all, the first game in the series is going to be turning to 30 years old this year, which marks by the forms of the 2023 after all. So here we go on to the next series of Mega Man games we decide to tackle through, because, potentially speaking, we've already tackled through most of those classic Mega Man games since Journey Forms of in 2018 and last year in 2022. So here we are now on to 2023, we have decided to able to tackle through the Mega Man X series. So, relatively speaking though, originally we were expected to able to actually do the entire dedicated marathon of the forms of the Mega Man X series from the likes of the forms of several months or something like that. However though, since about the fact that the future sequels might take a bit forever to able to complete due to the forms of certain mechanics and all that stuff, I figured we might able to actually go through a series of Mega Man X games through season based. So since we're still on winter after all, so we figure we might able to tackle for the first game in the series in winter season. And as far as X2 is concerned, we'll tackle for that at some point in spring, and then X3 in summer, and X4 will be autumn season. So, and vice versa until at some point in 2024 and beyond. So, however, there's one particular game exception to this, and that will have to be by the forms of Mega Man X Command Mission, just because I haven't exactly got the game yet, either on the PlayStation 2 or the GameCube versions, so as a result, I've been meaning to able to try to get that at some point in the future though, but from now on though, not now, because obviously we're still focusing on other Switch pre-orders, like, you know, Metroid Prime Remastered and all the other stuff. So here we go folks, here's Mega Man X. First came out in 1993, originally being released on the Super Nintendo / Super Famicom for those of you who lived in Japan, and similarly to the forms of how it does it on the classic Mega Man games, for those of you who lived in Japan, this game is known as Rockman X, because remember, with Rockman is actually best known for the actual Japanese name. So either way, and as you can tell on the actual capture footage, I'm going to be playing on the Mega Man Legacy Collection once again, or should I say, Mega Man X Legacy Collection, because as far as I'm aware, originally I was going to try to play on my Super Nintendo Mini, but the thing is though, I seem to able to have some struggles with the actual controls, so as a result, hopefully though, for the sake of the forms of this particular playthrough, I apologize for that particular disgusting belch earlier, but as a result though, yeah, let's get started with Mega Man X for the Super Nintendo. And as far as I'm aware, this game also receives the actual remake by the forms of the PSP, much like the forms of how it does it on the original Mega Man 1. So as a result though, yeah, let's just dive straight to this, shall we? So right from the get-go, we actually start things off as an intro stage. Yes, before Mega Man 7 was a thing, because mind you, this game came out in 1993 after all, the same year as what Mega Man 6 came out on the NES, despite the fact that the classic Mega Man games is still on the Nintendo Entertainment System, or Famicom, for those of you who lived in Japan. So as a result though, relatively speaking, I will say, for the first impressions of this game, looks spectacular, especially noticeable because, oh man, the music or the soundtrack is magnificent, and especially noticeable concerning about the fact that some people seem to say that Mega Man X is considered as to be one of the best Mega Man X games of all time, just because about the fact that how unique it is. It's also a lot darker compared to the forms of how it does on the classic Mega Man games, what I've heard anyway. So, relatively speaking though, about the fact that as to be expected, we have to able to actually go through a series amounts of obstacles here and there, and just like in the forms of the classic Mega Man games, there are some health pickups, as well as the forms of the weapon ammo count, that we'll definitely gonna have to come across into that at some point throughout the majority of this Let's Play. Well, mind you about the fact that this game is going to be super short, unlike the future installments, that as far as whenever we get to the future installments, specifically X3 and onwards, expect to able to become the actual, well, as far as I'm aware, it becomes a lot longer than the forms of how it does it on the first two games for sure. Because, relatively speaking though, about the fact that, well, I was really excited able to actually try those series out. So, either way, let's just go ahead and try to avoid those crumbling platforms, as you can tell. And as far as I'm aware, right from the start though, you're able to actually have ourselves the X-Buster, which as a result is basically it's kind of like the similar thing as the forms of Charged Mega Buster from the likes of since Mega Man 4. Well, relatively speaking though, and as you can see, we do have the ability to be able to hop onto those wall jumps. So, I think wall jumps are certainly is the greatest move abilities I've ever encountered with, especially because in some situations about the fact that there's going to be tons of bottomless pits, but as a result, if you hook into a wall and then try to able to jump at the same time, basically you can able to actually perform a pretty cool, wall jump as far as I'm concerned. So I believe this is the ending portion of the level. It's just about the fact that, well, usually you have to take down those car robot enemies, as you can tell. So basically though, we can essentially try to able to actually take those guys down, no problem, with the actual Mega X-Buster. So anyway, so here we go, on to the first boss in the game. I'm pretty sure it's unbeatable, but basically here we have ourselves the actual, the first boss in the game, like I said before, and this guy is known as Vile. So basically though, we can essentially just try to take him down as quickly as humanly possible, but as you can tell, we somehow get a lot of damage right there. So as a result, we've got stunned, and as a result, it's pretty much unbeatable, because as far as I'm aware, I think Vile tells us about the fact that we're not strong enough to able to defeat him. So I was expecting to able to read any of those dialogue text boxes here and there, but unfortunately though, I didn't seem to able to be bothered. And here, this is where we meet our brother of any sort, and that's what appears to be Zero. So yeah, relatively speaking though, for what I first experienced Mega Man X, it's not from the games themselves. It was actually by the forms of whenever I managed to able to first time playing through Super Smash Flash as the actual Flash game. Now, for whatever reason, I'll explain more details about that in a moment, because, as you can tell, today's date, of course, is the 14th of February today, in this case, in 2023 today, and as I said before, happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Now, I'm sure that you were able to actually celebrate your very loved ones, and you spent some time with your loved ones, essentially, and overall, you'll have a really had a grand, fantastic time in Valentine's Day. And a short things worth noting for, also during the forms of the exact same day actually, happy 3rd year anniversary of the release of the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. To be more specifically, the first film in the series when it comes to the live-action animated Sonic movie as far as I'm aware. Gee, I can't even believe that film is now 3 years old, and by that time until next year in 2024, that the third film is going to be on its way. And there's also short things worth noting for, yeah, that's the perfect example of why I'm playing this on the Mega Man X Legacy Collection version of Mega Man X, because there was actually a save system. So because of that though, that's the version I was expecting to able to choose it from. And also, differently from the likes of the forms of how it does it on the Mega Man Legacy Collection, I'm playing the Switch version, because originally I used to have the PS4 version long time ago, but every now and then though, it's about the fact that I just feel like playing those Mega Man X games on the go will be my cup of tea. So either way, let's go and get started by the forms of the first Maverick Hunter we need to take down, and that's what appears to be Chili Penguin. So as a result though, unfortunately though, I can't actually describe about the forms of those Maverick Hunters bios essentially, because mind you about the fact that I haven't exactly played the Mega Man X games just yet though, until now. Because as a result of that kind of stuff though, that's as far as I can usually try to describe it. So, and just like the forms of the traditional classic formula from the likes of the forms of the Mega Man games nowadays, is that you start the game off as in 8 Maverick Hunters we have to take down, as opposed to Robot Masters, because the Robot Masters were actually the classic formula, whilst the unique forms within the Mega Man X series, they're all Maverick Hunters. So, yeah, that's essentially how I can usually describe about them. So anyways, how it works for the forms of Mega Man X as opposed to the classic games? Well, you're still able to actually do some running and gunning and all that stuff, but the biggest difference is this time is that, relatively speaking, we can now able to actually, as I said before, perform certain moves that Mega Man cannot. like for instance the actual wall jump like I just shown this to you earlier. In addition to that though, there's going to be some upgrades we can able to obtain thanks to the forms of those specific capsules you can able to find. However though, there's only 4 of them in this game, but as far as the future series is concerned, they try to able to expand a lot of it. So for instance, if we meet up right here, then basically we actually stumble across Dr. Light. Huh, interesting. Mind you, because I'm pretty sure the Mega Man X series just somehow takes place in the future, so relatively speaking though, that's how about the fact that there's gonna be some nice little callbacks from the likes of the forms of the classic Mega Man games. So basically, Dr. Light is going to tell us about the fact that we need to able to hop into this specific capsule, and basically that's essentially how you can get upgrades to yourselves. And as I said before, there are 4 of them in total, so I will try my best to able to actually find all 4 of them. So mind you, there are certain capsules to be located on certain stages. So as a result, yeah, we can basically deal with it anyway, so... And as to be expected, we do have the health bar, as you can see. So relatively speaking though, about the fact that in order to able to actually get 100% completion of this game, basically not only do we need to able to actually access to every single capsules in the game, but also there are some tons of collectibles in this game. Well, mind you, this is the first game in the series though, so don't expect things too much about it. So for instance, let's hop into this capsule right here. I think this is all automated or something. That basically though, once you're able to obtain one of those first upgrades, specifically the leg upgrade, basically this allows us to able to perform a dash. So yeah, pretty cool and awesome at the same time, and that's one of the coolest aspects about the forms of the Mega Man X series is that you can able to actually dash through like forward or, you know, just backwards or anything else like that, even though it's kind of hard to explain, because I know for a fact, I do definitely know this series, but I haven't exactly played it as much compared to the forms of how it does on the classic games, so, but I will give those series a chance, and it's a bit of a shame there's no other sequel, which is by the forms of Mega Man X9 to be any around here, because I know for a fact that the last installment of the series we do somehow got, and that's what appears to be by the forms of, well, what else? Mega Man X8. And Mega Man X8 is the latest installment of the series at this point, since in 2004. So, yeah, it took long enough as far as, well, everyone keeps on speculating about the fact that with Mega Man X9 will be on the works, but unfortunately though it doesn't seem to happen, so it kind of sucks honestly, because I know for a fact that, well, in the beginning era of Mega Man X, those are very strong, but as far as the future installments are concerned, it all goes downhill, especially noticeable whenever it gets to the point until Mega Man X6, and especially noticeable with Mega Man X7. Oh god, a lot of people seemed able to warn me about this, especially noticeable, well, let's not get about ourselves at this point right now, because we are playing, you know, the best installment of the series when it comes to Mega Man X, so, either way, from the actual traditional standpoint, is that we need to make our way from point A to point B, and just like in the forms of the classic Mega Man fashion, that basically once you reach to this point, that is where the first one of those Maverick Hunters is gonna able to await us. So here we go, face off against with Chili Penguin. So basically he's one of the easiest bosses in the game, although assumingly if you pretty much know exactly what the mechanics worked, especially noticeable because as you can see, certain bosses do have more health than you do, but that's only mainly because in certain parts throughout the level, there are some collectibles they highly recommend you able to be collecting. Well, for the most part though, all you have to do is basically you have to use a charged up X Buster, so just to ensure you can able to deal the amount of damage to Chili Penguin. And of course, just like in forms of how it does on any other Mega Man games, basically they do have their weaknesses. So as a result though, I can't know exactly sure what the weakness is going to be for Chili Penguin, but you'll see and find out until whenever we get towards the end game. And jeez Louise, he deals the amount of damage to me whenever he dashes straight towards me. But of course, you have to be very careful of the forms of certain amount of attacks, because just like it evolves of how it does on the classic Mega Man games, and it's also sure things worth noting for is that Chili Penguin stage actually takes place in a snowy environment, you know, just like it evolves of how it does it on one of these, I would say by the forms of Frostman from the likes of the forms of Mega Man 7, so as a result though, no wonder why that can be pretty tricky at times. And a short thing's worth knowing for, yeah, I've got one of those first medals as far as I saw that coming, but that's only because, as I said before, I'm players on the Mega Man X Legacy Collection, basically, so... There we go, Chili Pig went down, and just like in forms of how it does it on any other Mega Man games, you're able to get access to certain abilities, like Shotgun Ice. So basically though, this allows you to able to freeze enemies in place, so pretty cool and awesome at the same time. So yeah, we'll just go ahead and save a game. And of course, this game does have password features, just like in forms of how it does it on any other classic Mega Man games up to this point. But honestly, since we are playing the Mega Man X Legacy Collection up to this point, I don't necessarily need to worry about the forms of the amount of passwords I have to insert. So, anyway, so here we go on to this next stage we're going to be tackling through, and that is Storm Eagle. So as a result though, this does manage to take place somewhere in the actual, like, Fleet Fortress or something. And, relatively speaking though, that's what I honestly try to say about this. So, and this is where the point about the fact that we will come across into one of those first ever collectibles we can probably get, and those are these heart tanks. And as you can see, we actually extend our health meter. So because of that, I highly recommend you're able to actually go after those heart tanks, just to ensure about the fact that, well, the series, as far as I'm aware, has actually considered it to be a lot harder than the forms of how it does on the classic Mega Man games for sure, because mind you, there are some tough situations here and there, just like the forms of how it does it on the traditional classic Mega Man formula. So as a result though, yeah, let's just go ahead and continue. And something tells me about the fact that there's going to be another collectible that's super important if you're having a hard time with the game so far. And that's what appears to be kind of similar to the forms of how it does in all those energy tanks from the classic games, except it functions kind of differently. But then again though, we'll point things out whenever we're able to find one, so... Yeah, there's going to be some very tricky platforms here and there, and thankfully, just like in the forms of how it does it on the traditional Mega Man formula, basically we do have some checkpoints every time whenever we do die in certain situations. So as a result though, yeah, I consider this about the fact that, well, you know what I'm saying. So from here, this is where we find these sub-tanks, which basically this allows you, well, assuming if you keep on collecting, like, I don't know, health pickups or something, basically it actually fills up your sub-tanks, and what you can do with it, once it's completely filled up, basically though, you can able to actually use the sub-tank to able to actually refuel your energy, you know, just like the forms of how it does it on these energy tanks, from the likes of the forms of the classic Mega Man games. However though, unlike the forms of how it does it on the forms of the classic Mega Man games, it doesn't go completely full up, assuming if you're able to actually keep on filling up some more sub-tanks. So, either way though, that'll be really handy as far as I'm concerned. But anyways, so I'm just gonna have to destroy that particular flamethrower mechanical thing right here. Despite every once in a while though, the enemies do respawn, just like the forms of how it does it on the traditional classic Mega Man formula. So as a result though, thankfully, unlike the forms of how it does it on the forms of the classic Mega Man games, is that basically, that if you go into the next section of the level, there's no, well, it might be difficult to explain, because I know for a fact that I haven't exactly played this series as much compared to the classic games, as I mentioned earlier, and something tells me there's going to be another capsule somewhere around here, and by doing so, we need to destroy those little fire fuse bottles, all these little tanks, by, you know, simply just use the actual shotgun ice, and from here, this is where we meet Dr. Light again, and from here, this is where we get ourselves our head upgrade. So basically though, that allows you to able to break those specific blocks, as you can probably see, and basically he'll just try to demonstrate to us. So for instance, this is all automated, but if you do get the upgrade, as you can see. So now we got ourselves the head upgrade, so now we can able to actually just break, you know, certain blocks from your head. So, think of like the actual headbutt, basically, so... And of course, just like in any other Mega Man games, there's going to be some useful items here and there. Like, we already noticed about the fact that there are some flashy yellow objects, which just allows you to able to refuel your health. And of course, if you see that Mega Man X head, that gives you an extra life. So relatively speaking though, there were a few times I might generally die quite a few times, because the actual emphasis on the forms of the amount of difficulty in this game, or the series in general, is actually considered to be a lot harder than the forms of how it does it on the classic Mega Man games in my opinion. But as a result though, I will try my best to able to actually go through a series as much as I can. But either way though, we'll have to able to consider this the actual on point. So... Speaking of a devil, there's my first death, because I didn't exactly pay attention to that leaps of faith. Especially because the main emphasis on able to actually master at the game is that you have to utilize a dash jump. So basically though, if you manage to able to reach certain like leaps of faith situations, although thankfully we can able to re-pick up the extra life again, so at least that's very generous with us. So either way though, because thankfully we've got the checkpoint, so relatively speaking though, it's just all that matters. Like, well, you can also get checkpoints as well if you, before you take on new forms of the Maverick Hunters as well. So yeah, that's as far as I can try to describe about the forms of Mega Man X in general. There are certain levels are actually very lengthy compared to the forms of how it does it on the classic Mega Man games for sure. But there are some certain levels are somewhat short. But either way though, let's just go ahead and hop onto this little ship right here. Take down this little cannon right here. And this is actually a pretty unique way to able to actually get into the actual Maverick Hunter as far as I'm aware. That if we go through here, basically we'll able to actually go through ladders or climb down the ladders, hop into this elevator, and apparently we can able to actually just to self-destruct the ship. And from here, this is where we meet up with the forms of the Storm Eagle. So either way, some people might find this to be one of the hardest Maverick Hunters to take down, but I will try my best to able to do not die against this guy. But either way though, let's just go ahead and keep dashing forward, so just to ensure. Be careful of this attack by the way, because that will cause a lot of damage. So relatively speaking though, I suggest you're able to do a bit of dashing timing. So because of that, once you get the down a bit though, it's actually not too bad and not too shabby either. So but yeah, let me know in the comments down below for the question of the day. What is your favorite Mega Man X game you've ever played? Because I will say, the first game certainly is one of the most masterpieces when it comes to likely for its Mega Man X series in general, because it's a great start of the series. And what is your least favorite Mega Man X game you've ever played? Personally speaking, for me though, it's actually a tie between Mega Man X6 and X7, because as far as I'm aware, when I manage to play this on my own time, or when I do manage to play those two games back to back, I do realize there are some tons of flaws with not only with Mega Man X6, but also Mega Man X7 as well. Although some people seem to say that Mega Man X7 is possibly the worst installment of the series, which I can possibly understand why, due to the forms of some non-existent mechanics or anything else like that. But either way, Storm Eagle is down for good. So I think we've only just got about 6 more Maverick Hunters to go. So let's see what weapon have we got. So we've got Storm Tornado. I will say Storm Tornado is by far the best weapon in the game. Just because, not only does it take down most of those bosses very easily, but also it takes down certain enemies a lot quicker. So, relatively speaking, I'm also able to actually use that at some form or another. So yeah, you can able to actually revisit the past few stages if you wanted to, especially because, well, much like the forms of how it does it on Mega Man 6 or something, well, basically we can able to actually go back to the previous levels if we decide to pick up certain remaining upgrades we can get. So here we go, on to Flame Mammoth, or Mammoth, as far as I'm aware. So, relatively speaking though, there are some unique aspects about the forms of the Mega Man X games as well. As you can tell, that the actual emphasis on this level is all about flames after all, but as you can tell, since after we somehow defeated Chili Penguin, as you can see, the lava is no longer existent. So because of this, the actual ice is now taking over. So because of that, I really love how the fact that certain stage mechanics do somehow change every now and then. But either way though, there is also the actual upgrades. There is actually somewhere in the stage, but I cannot for the life of me able to actually pull this off. But at the very least, we got ourselves the heart tank, so that's that. But there's also the sub-tank somewhere around here, and that's what the head upgrade comes into play. And I'm sure enough there was actually a one of those body part upgrades you can possibly get, but either way, let's not get ourselves to this point right now, because I think we'll go for the checkpoint right there first, and then we'll go back and then just try to able to backtrack for a bit, and then just somehow, hopefully trying to find one of those sub-tanks. So yeah, let's just go ahead and jump from here. And of course, certain familiar enemies are back from the likes of the classic Mega Man games for sure. Behave exactly like the forms of how it does it on the classics. So anyways, there's the sub-tank right here. So, yeah, as you can see on this sub-tank disposal, that at the moment is actually empty right now. So because of that, though, I'm not exactly sure how this works still, because, I've already mentioned this briefly, though, but I'm not exactly sure how the fact I explain this clearly. So, yeah, forgive me if I somehow managed to botch everything else up. So, oh yeah, something's worth noting for is about the fact that, relatively speaking, that we actually got ourselves this very cool advertising, well, specifically in North America right now. And that's what appears to be the Super Mario Bros. Plumbing. And as a result, though, I actually really love that particular commercial because of not only of the forms of how cool the visuals can be, but also it has a actual montage, or should I say, a nice little throwback to the forms of one of those cartoon shows based off from the Super Mario Bros. Super Show, which, yes, they somehow managed able to get one of those lyrics based off from Super Mario Bros. Super Show. Not the rest of it, though, just because it obviously takes place in New York. So as a result, though, that's actually a pretty cool throwback to the forms of how it does it on this, I'm not gonna lie, an okay show, except the fact that there are some quirky moments here and there. So, seriously, I just really love the Storm Tornado weapon because it seriously rocks. So, either way, now we've made our way to the next Maverick Hunter, so... And apparently we're going to be taking on to the actual conveyor belts, even though it does kind of reminds me of one of those similar battle arena from the likes of Metal Man, from the likes of the forms of Mega Man 2. Well, except the fact the matter is, though, we're going to be able to take him down very easily by simply able to actually use the actual Storm Tornado. And once we've done so, we've somehow defeated him. Nicely done. Oh yeah, it's short things worth noting for. Like I said before, this game also receives a remake called Mega Man Maverick Hunter X, which is only exclusive to the PSP. And I believe that remake came out in 2005, the same year as Ape Escape P or Ape Escape on the Loose, for those of you who lived in North America. So as a result, though, that relatively speaking, they do add in some more content. And speaking of content, though, is that if you ever got the Mega Man X Legacy Collection, there was actually a special movie called the Day of Sigma, which basically means is that you can able to actually watch the actual anime movie based off from before the events of Mega Man X existence or something. Well, mind you, I haven't exactly followed up the series as much as the forms of the classic games like I said before, but either way though, I'll explain more details about that once we get to the future games in the series, so, or potentially speaking, the continuation of this game, so... Anyways though, and no wonder why that this game is actually very popular nowadays, especially noticeable because just like Mega Man 2, that basically though is about the fact that this game did somehow manage to able to get its re-release on not only on the Wii Virtual Console, and same applies to the Wii U Virtual Console as well, despite the fact that you can no longer get these games anymore just because the service is shut down. And I believe technically this game has also been re-released on the 3DS, specifically the new 3DS models or something. Well, mind you about the fact I haven't exactly played my 3DS quite as much because, you know what I mean, the future is about to be dead for the likes of not only for the 3DS, but also for the Wii U as well. I mean, relatively speaking though, it seems kind of sucks. But it has to be done, so... Anywho though, so yeah, relatively speaking though, about the fact that because no wonder why this game gets its, gets this game included from the likes of the forms of the Super Nintendo Classic Mini, because unlike the forms of how it does it on Mega Man X2 and X3, that's no wonder why it's never been brought out on the Super Nintendo Classic Mini, unless if you must able to actually decide to do some hacking device, well, presumably so. But either way, and I can assure you that this game also sees the light of day on PC DOS or something like that. Well, apart from the fact that we're relatively speaking now, haven't exactly paid attention to one of those version changes from here and there. But either way, though, that might be some consumption. And there's also another compilation game that already existence from the likes of the forms of North American version only, just like the forms of how it does it on the Mega Man Anniversary Collection, which is actually known as the Mega Man X Collection, which the collection compilation does contain 6 of those Mega Man X games for sure. even though it only came out in North America, like I said before, and also being released on the PlayStation 2 and Nintendo GameCube, so no Xbox release, sadly. So because of this though, relatively speaking of the forms of the Xbox stuff, this is actually the first time ever for the Xbox players who are able to actually get a chance to experience the Mega Man X games thanks to the compilation games. So, pretty cool, huh? And this particular heart tank is actually very difficult to get because the only way you can get to up there is that you have to master the actual dash jump while trying to utilize the wall jump, because otherwise, if you time it well enough, like I just did, basically you can get yourself a heart tank. So, pretty cool and satisfying at the same time. So, relatively speaking though, when it comes to this particular Let's Play of what I was able to decide to do, I'm actually going to be going for 4 stages at the moment, but if I do somehow manage to done the rest of the stuff, then I can probably go back to the previous level so I can able to actually pick up some more stuff. So, relatively speaking though, because just like it falls how it does it on, let's just say Mega Man 8, that you can able to actually revisit as many of those stages as you wanted to, but either way though, that's as far as I can try to describe it, so... Alright, time to take on the next Maverick Hunter, which unfortunately I wasn't paying attention to what his Maverick Hunter's name was, but either way though, we'll just go ahead and take him down by simply utilize the shotgun ice, so that way, that was potentially his weakness. So, either way though, you have to able to like, jump at the right time, so just in case you don't want to able to actually get close into its earthquake. So, yeah, it's definitely a little bit tricky, I will admit though. And especially noticeable it doesn't help I somehow died, because I was going to try to escape from him, but I didn't get my reaction timing right, so whoops. And of course, just like it evolves of how it does it on, let's just say, ever since in Mega Man 7 or something like that, well, before Mega Man 7 exists, and before the future games as well, they can able to actually press the L and R button so you can able to actually switch those different weapons from the get-go, rather than just trying to able to pause the game and just switch those different weapons immediately. So, although I could have liked able to use the sub-tank for this guy, but I didn't exactly pay attention to that at all, so that was probably my fault, so... And there goes this particular Maverick. So, straight to the point, I think we're now on to the halfway point of this game, so... But again, despite how this game is going to be super short, so relatively speaking though, we'll go for 4 stages in each video, I can assure you for this point. So, anyway, so we've got ourselves the electric shock. So basically this allows you to able to send us some electric shock orbs. So, that's all there is to it. So, yeah, suffice to say for this point guys, I think we've got the endings of this point right here. So join me next time for more of Let's Play of Mega Man X. Is that we're about to be able to finish up the rest of those Mavericks until we're able to actually complete everything in terms of the stage selection screen or something like that. So I'll see you guys on next Tuesday. Later, fellas.